Okay, guys, sorry about that. I needed to turn my camera over and had a little bit of technical difficulties. Hi, I'm Dr. Alicia Armitstead, and I'm here. I'm going to have Bobbie come on in a second, but I'm not doing the cooking. As you can tell, I'm not in the kitchen. I'm going to have Bobbie do all her beautiful artwork in the kitchen, and I'm just here to monitor and share stories and have a great time. Bobbie and I came up with this idea to really just help people learn how to cook in a healthy way. And I am good in the office, and as you know, if you're a patient at Healing Arts, telling you exactly what you need to do for your body. And I say, eat this, don't eat this, don't eat this, and then you're on your own. And of course, we're here to help. You guys know that I have lots of different newsletters and health tips that way, and answer emails all week long. And in that way, we support you. But to actually be in the kitchen and make sure you're making those healthy choices, Bobbie's really good at helping people in the kitchen and putting foods together in a really healthy way. And she'll tell you more about it. So let's get her on. And I'm really excited, you guys. Some of you guys might just be listening. Some of you guys might be cooking with us. So let's take a look. There she is.
Hi. Hello. Hi.
Hi. So
I was wonderful to be here with you.
Yes. So I was just telling everybody a little bit about, what brought us together to really do this is to help people. And we can't necessarily be in everybody's kitchen, but this way we can come together online. And so what do you have planned? Well, actually, first tell us more about yourself, Bobbie.
Firstly, it's an honor to be here alongside you.
Thank you.
And serve the healing arts community, the various communities that we're a part of. And I have been in the kitchen since I basically could walk. I grew up with a family of cooks, not in any professional capacity, but grandmothers that cooked, parents that cooked, family, like it was very food centric in my upbringing. Mm-hmm. And then I found myself trying to support myself as a dancer in the food industry. And I kind of worked every realm of the food industry, especially in New York City. I was front of the house and back of the house. And I've always loved being in the food world, and more so now in helping myself and others get back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And it particularly, I now live outside of the city. So, I was used to being able to have whatever I want whenever I wanted it. And now I live outside the city and it's not that. But even when it was that, it doesn't mean that it's healthful. And then I met you when I was going through cancer treatment, and I thought that I was doing my body right. And then I met you, and my life radically changed, but for the better. Like, I learned to listen in a really different way. Through your guidance, and then through resources that I found, that health, like eating for health and deliciousness, is totally possible. In fact, it's more than possible. And I'm like really stoked that like my parents are now on board with this. I've got friends that are now on board with this. So, and all thanks to being like, that you're gonna need to wave goodbye to some things.
Yeah. And one of the things I actually took away from Bobbie was beans. I've never seen somebody be so upset about taking away beans from them. And for anybody who's listening, Bobbie actually came to me and was already a good eater, like a healthy eater, or so she thought. And so going through the muscle testing and telling her exactly what she needed to stay away from, it was not easy. She really... No. Growing up with food and having food just be such an essential part of your life. You were really emotional when I was telling you, you cannot eat this, this, and this.
I knew you were going to take gluten and sugar away. Like, I knew it. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go in. She's going to say no gluten, no sugar. And then you were like, no gluten, no sugar, no oats, no beans, no rice, no fruit. And I was like,
Yeah. So for our watchers, if Bobbie can do this, you guys can do this. If Bobbie found a delicious way to eat with no beans and no oats and no grains and no fruit, you guys can do it too.
yeah.
So you being like growing up, did your family eat healthy? Or
Yeah, I mean, we always ate well. We were not convenience food people or like fast food oriented family. I mean, we did occasionally, but it wasn't on our regular. It wasn't on our radar.
did you guys actually take pride in building things from scratch?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes.
Not
always.
a lot of packaged foods, not a lot of canned foods.
No.
Yeah.
And I also know that that's a very unique position to be in 2021.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
But I also know that like growing up, there was a certain amount of around that now I instead of that, like, well, what do you mean? Now I feel a little bit more compassionate. Whereas it's like people being like, I have no idea to cook. And instead of like 10 years ago, I'd be like, what do you mean you have no idea how to cook? And now I feel like through your guidance and through it and some other practices, it's more like, oh, well, do you want to know? Let's do this. Come on. Let's,
yeah.
You don't know how to hold a knife? Okay. Let's hold a knife.
Yeah. So what came so basic and easy for you, what you've grown up around, what was so intuitive, you realized, oh, I actually can I have a skill set that I can actually help people with.
Yeah.
And so that's what's turned into your online classes and in person, and you do one-on-ones as well for people who really want the added attention and want to really learn. And so you didn't want to actually open up a restaurant with all your knowledge and passion. Why?
Because I think, why not teach people how to cook instead? Why not learn how to feed yourself and feed others? Because that is a gift that then you can give and they can give. It has a ripple effect that far exceeds there's enough places you can get a beautiful meal. And like, why shouldn't it be your home?
Yeah. And how
why shouldn't it come from your own hands?
Yeah. How empowering that can be.
So empowering, and regardless of your level of experience right now, right? I had a friend who I taught how to cook, and she started crying. She's like, I've never done this before. And also she was crying because it was uncomfortable.
Interesting.
She's like, I'm used to being good at everything, so that's why I don't cook, because I'm afraid that I'm gonna suck at it. I'm so uncomfortable. And it wasn't like, ooh, yay me. It was like, oh, it's missing. Yeah.
No. And how healing that is for her to even realize.
Yeah.
It's almost like we avoid the kitchen. Some of us do, and we don't even really understand why.
Exactly.
And so the not know how, Bobbie brings the know-how. And with compassion, and she makes it look easy, guys. And everything is plant-based and delicious. And
everything is plant-based.
Yeah. And have you been that way forever?
I've been vegetarian for since 2014, and then went plant-based when you and I met. Though it wasn't on the protocol. With the genetic mutation that I have a BRCA1 gene mutation, and there has been times where you and I have talked about soy. So I decided to take away all animal products, because sourcing grass-fed, no soy cheese, but it's easier to get butter and things like that. But then I thought, let's just take it all away.
Yeah. And for people who don't know, if you're trying to avoid soy or even corn, animals will eat soy and corn. So even if it's organic meat, they're eating organic soy. And so sometimes that can be part of when you're trying to avoid soy, you actually have to avoid animal meat and animal products because it's in there and people don't even think about it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have had that soy connection if you weren't like, okay, let's look at all the things that have soy.
There's soy hidden in everything.
And everything, and even finding like when you gave me back some things, right? Also, those of you who are new to Dr. Armitstead know that whatever gets taken away, if you follow your protocol, you will get it back.
Yes, it's not
get
forever.
It back. It's not forever. Like when she took tomatoes away from me, I was like, oh my God. When she gave me tomatoes back, I wept. It was about a year, but I wept. But you get it back.
Yes.
Right? Not everything. I don't think Dr. Armitstead would be like, yeah, have a ball with refined sugar. Go for it.
Yeah.
Right?
I've never given back like Hershey bars. Like
no, you're never giving that back, but then you're giving back like Who chocolate.
Yes. We just have to
because
find
that
a healthy alternative.
Props to Who chocolate.
Yes.
Also, what Honey Mama's? If any of you are listening and you have not had Honey Mama's chocolate, that's bonkers.
Yeah, it really is amazing. Bonkers. And it's hard to only eat one serving at a time.
Very much.
It comes with a warning.
It does. It comes with a warning, as it should. Very much. It absolutely needs to be. Warning, warning, warning.
Okay, so what are you going to cook for us?
What's that?
What are you going to cook for us today?
We are making a, it feels even weird to say like vegan shepherd's pie. I guess we should call it like a garden pie because there are no sheep. There's no shepherding of any sort. So we're making a mushroom and lentil. I guess we could even call it a casserole. And for those of you from like the Midwest and like Minnesota, you're like, oh, good, a hot dish. So we're making a layered dish that'll be on the bottom. There is lentils, which I'm allowed, even it's not beans. Lentils, mushrooms, and like a mirepoix of vegetables. And on top is whipped cauliflower, which is a wonderful, delicious alternative to mashed potatoes. It still gives that really silky, without the mashed potato, like, afterwards.
The carb load. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. So yeah, anybody who wants to make mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving, try the cauliflower instead.
Yeah. And also, although we're not doing it today, cauliflower and celery root mixed together is also
really good. Have you ever used it with parsnips too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cauliflower parsnip is great. I've even gone half and half with potatoes, so that there's still a little bit of that potato, but not the full ride. And I just, instead of putting a bunch of potatoes in, I definitely go heavy-handed on the olive oil, but you have also said have a spoonful of olive oil for dessert sometimes. So I feel like I'm safe.
Yes.
Yes. And then we're also making a shaved Brussels sprout salad.
Perfect.
It's really and both of these are really, really adaptable, right? So if there's an ingredient that you don't have that I do, right, you can swap out for something, and I'm happy to talk alternatives and all that. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the art of it, is
the art of it. Exactly.
Different pieces. Yes.
Yeah. And one of my friends says that she doesn't make recipes, she makes guessapes.
Oh, yep.
Have the loose structure, and I'm like, okay, all right.
And sometimes they're good, and sometimes
they're ish.
Got it.
Right. But I think once you have the loose structure of this, you can really play with it, and I'll talk about that as we move through.
Okay, good.
Sound good?
Yes. Okay. How do you want to start?
I'm gonna move myself a little closer, so then you're really only gonna see my hands. I'm gonna be like the I would be like the Oz and Wizard of Oz. Can you see my hands, or is it going to be really dark?
No. So far so good.
So far so good.
If it's too dark.
Hold on a second.
I see mushrooms.
You see mushrooms?
Yes.
Great. What I realize is I haven't cooked this late in the evening, right? Or now in our new time frame.
Oh, like
I
on camera.
typically
So this
cook
is
during
different.
the day. All
Yeah.
right. So you can see my hands. You can see my board.
See about a half of it. Yeah, there
Better?
you go. Yes.
Okay, great. Cool. Ooh, studio lighting here up in Kinderhook. Okay, so the first thing we'll get is if you have dried lentils, you're going to get them into a pot and get them cooking. Lentils take about 20 to 25 minutes to cook. So I said in the recipe, use 3/4 of a cup of dried lentils, or if you have a BPA-free can or another vessel, I'm sure Dr. Armitstead would strongly suggest that you cook your own lentils versus buying anything in a can.
It is true. That goes for everybody. It's a very
it's
big
not for
standard.
everybody, and I totally get it. Some lentils are available in a jar as well. So I'm going to actually cook a cup of lentils instead of 3/4 because my daughter will also be enjoying lentils for dinner tonight. And she'll get really upset if there's lentils for the grown-ups and none for her. So that's funny. And then if you, whatever pot that you're cooking your lentils in, you want to have water about 1 to 2 inches above the top of your lentils.
I love that Berkey.
Oh my gosh. It's the best, probably the best investment of 2021 is the Berkey. In your pot of lentils, I like to smash a clove of garlic in there. So I'm just going to take a clove, leave it whole, because I don't want my lentils to necessarily be garlicky if I leave my garlic whole and take off the paper skin. I'll get the water that my lentils are cooking in will be perfumed with garlic, but not hit over the head with it. Also, boiled tiny pieces of garlic is not so great, right? You can easily fish this out. I'm going to pop that in. I'm going to salt it after rather than cooking them in salted water. And to my pot, I'm going to add 2 to 3 sprigs of thyme that are about kind of like the length of my fingers. Right? I'm going to pop those in. I'm going to take them over to my stove top. Take them to my stove top. And then, hi, Nina. And then I'm going to turn them on high, bring them to a boil, and then lower the heat. Okay.
Did you?
I think you all need to see me take it and put it on high.
No,
right?
we can. I think we can do that.
We got it.
Did you actually grow the thyme yourself?
I did.
Nice.
Product shot.
Yeah, one of the favorite ways of things of being out of the city. But at the same time, if you live in Manhattan, all you have is a tiny small apartment. You can do a little pot on the windowsill. That's Absolutely. All it takes, guys. If you grow your own organic food, you know how fresh that will be.
Oh my God, it's the best.
Yeah, and it tastes different. Like, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe how awesome just herbs taste.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of hold for a second.
Yes. I don't want to distract you too much because I know you got to get cooking.
We'll still get on target. This is an awesome. Can you see it? It's called the Comic Book Guide to Growing Your Own the Comic Book Guide to Growing Food.
Oh wow!
And it's amazing. It's so fun. It's really fun. But
it really actually shows you how to do it?
It does. It shows you how to do it.
Oh my gosh.
And it's really user-friendly. It's super sweet. It's funny. It's quirky. And they talk a lot about, if you don't have a lot of space to grow food. I'm taking my red onion and I'm slicing it in half down the center. If you don't cut a lot of onions, leave the root end intact for as long as possible because that's where the tear gas is. So you take off your papery skin. This isn't for the shepherd's pie, but it's for the salad. So it's a good idea to get the onions marinating as soon as possible. I'm the kind of person where I can never have too many quick pickled red onions because the salty vinegar apple cider vinegar that the onions marinate in. I use for vinaigrettes. I use to bring like a little bit of oniony flavor without it being onions per se into dishes. And then I also just love pickled red onions on top of like avocado toast and other things, right? So I'm just gonna finally slice my onions into half moons.
I had no idea that the tear gas was in the root. Thank you so much for telling me that. Yeah.
I mean, there's some throughout the vegetable, and it's like the onion's defense mechanism of us cutting it, but you know. So, yeah, that comic book is great, and they talk about if you live in a cramped living space or like don't have outdoor space, you can always use your windowsill, especially to grow herbs. I'm going to put my onions in a bowl. You know what's so funny? I grew up eating like pickled onions on a lot of things, and I don't have an Eastern European background by any stretch.
I was just going to ask you. I'm like, how does that fit in?
My grandmother we used to have them on like mashed potatoes. We used to have them at almost every meal. It's so weird.
It's like
okay.
So
I'm gonna generously salt this. And then I'm gonna apple cider vinegar the top of it.
And you always suggest apple cider vinegar for the
I
onions?
always do apple cider vinegar because it's raw, and that's what was on my protocol. That was my acid, the only acid that you gave me for a long time. So I learned how to play with it and use it, and then you just massage it, and yeah, your hands are gonna smell like onions, but you know, whatever, it's cool.
And how much apple cider vinegar did you just put in? Like enough just to cover?
Enough to splash them around.
Okay.
And then, like you would a kale salad, you kind of massage it in and then pack it down a little bit. I'm going to say with that little onion that I use, I probably use like a quarter of a cup of apple cider vinegar. Okay. You can also put this in a jar, put the lid on, and shake it. Okay. And pretty soon the salt and the vinegar help the onion kind of decompose and get soft, and the salt releases the sugar in the onion. So they actually end up being like a really awesome combination of like salty, oniony, sweet, crunchy. They're delicious.
Great.
So that's going to go on the salad later. Then let's get the onion going for the Shepard's, the garden pie. Hi, Dean. Oh my God. Okay, so one of my very personal kitchen heroes has joined the live, or came on to the live. Heather Carlucci, medium.
Hello, Heather.
She so generously. She is like, first of all, like just an incredible, not just a pastry chef, but like not just a pastry chef. Pastry chefs are baller. But she also used to have this amazing little Indian spot in the West Village called Lassi, which is where I met her. And she so generously gave me a pastry internship and was so awesome and generous with her skills, and also would just put a recipe in front of me and go, okay, there you go. Go ahead. Like, what? And just kind of like let me cut my teeth in a very like a Michelin star restaurant. Which is
yeah.
And she's also she's an incredible woman, and she's a medium. She left the food industry. She's a medium, and she's amazing. So hi, Heather. Now I'm nervous.
No, it's okay.
Hi, Dima. I see you there too, Dima. Okay, so to get the onions to kind of get into a dice, I'm gonna go make it into like what would be a fan. Now, this doesn't need to be, no one's gonna come in and judge your knife skills. here. So I cut it across and then I cut it straight down to make, what we want is uniformity. And the onions are going to start to cook first. And then I just kind of go around the edges. You know, this is definitely when I have grandparents that were in the Depression. That's like a half an onion. Don't waste it. Yeah. And then you go in on the other. So it's a one whole onion. And it can be a yellow onion. It can be, I'm using a Vidalia onion because my parents are in town and my mother loves Vidalia onions. I think they have a higher sugar content though, don't they, Dr. Armitstead?
Yes. But then that's one reason why they taste so good when it's caramelized.
Yeah. And my mother, if my mother's spirit animal would be a hummingbird. The woman loves sugar like no one I've ever known. I want to get her in your hands so badly. She's like, no, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'm sure. She's not ready.
She's not ready. My dad's like, bring it on, I'll do it. All right, so this is going to go into, we're going to heat up a pan. The onions are going to go into about a tablespoon of neutral cooking oil, so something like avocado oil. I also have a really good grapeseed oil. Where we want to always cook with something with a high smoke point versus olive oil, which you probably all know.
No, it's helpful. I get that question a lot.
Yeah, if you're gonna, also it kind of loses its flavor, right? Like olive oil tastes so good.
Oh yeah.
So put it on top.
Yeah, it actually is. Yeah, better if it's not really cooked at all.
Yeah.
And I think avocado oil, at least for my patients, is like a new thing. But avocado oil really can take the heat more than any other oil I have in my kitchen. So it's a definite go-to, even if it is a little bit more expensive.
Goes up to, I think it goes up to $4.75.
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, which is amazing. And I think that olive oil, the smoke point's 350, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's because it oxidizes at 350 and releases what, free radicals of some sort?
Yes, you got it. For our science buffs.
For all the science buffs.
The oil breaks down and then causes free radicals, which we don't want in the body, because it causes our cells to break down. So we can say premature aging, and it's obviously not supportive at all. Plus, it loses its nutritional value.
Yeah, we want all that olive oil goodness. So while the onions are starting to sweat, so you want the heat to be around medium so that, I'm going to come low here. You want your heat to be around medium so that the onions don't actually caramelize. You want
Okay.
it to sweat.
Okay.
And then as that's starting to happen, you'll cut carrots and celery, which you could do if you wanted to, is put it all into a food processor and sort of blitz it.
Okay.
That's fine too. Okay, so, what I didn't say is I've made this, because I cook for yoga, my friend and I do yoga retreats together, and I've cooked this in a couple of different forms for yoga retreats. So the base of what we're cooking, this mushroom lentil mix, if you wanted to add marinara sauce to it, it would become like a mushroom lentil bolognese sauce. And it's delicious. So I've cut my celery in half, and then some pieces cut it in half again, and then just making it into like very mini bite-size pieces. But yeah, so this has actually been probably my most requested recipe that works.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing it with us.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
And if you weren't going to do celery or carrots, what other vegetables would you add?
Fennel,
Mm-hmm.
parsnips. You could use, let me see. I mean, the celery, carrot, onion is the trifecta, right?
Yeah.
It's a base for a lot of things. But you could use fennel. You could use, like a turnip of sort, but I feel like if people are going to use a veg, are you talking like protocol-wise, Dr. Armitstead?
No, yeah, I just like, let's say, oh crap, I ran out of celery because I used my last celery in my celery juice in the morning.
Right.
It's just like, oh, what else could I possibly have in the refrigerator that could also work?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people have fennel in their fridge, but fennel.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, celery and carrot.
You could add an extra onion.
Okay.
Yeah, add an extra onion.
Got it.
Right? I'm going to get the carrots in there as well.
And you just make them small?
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, the only issue with, and again, uniform across the board with all your carrots, right? So if you have a large carrot and a couple of small ones, defer to your pieces to the smallest carrot. So break down your large carrot accordingly.
Got it.
So that everybody cooks together. Otherwise, you've got crunchy pieces. Like
overcooked pieces, extra mushy pieces.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you are doing it all in a food processor, which definitely saves a lot of time, do it on pulse so that you don't like puree the the vegetables, because then it kind of ends up looking like cat food.
Yeah, that's why I just smiled thinking of that. With the lentils and the mushrooms, then you're
Exactly. So I can hear my onions
sizzling. I can hear your onions too.
Yeah, they're sizzling. So I'm going to go over and give them a stir as soon as I've finished off this carrot.
And how much celery do you think you just did?
I did 3 stalks, and I think in the recipe I called for 3 and 3, or even like 2 and 3. It depends on the size of the stalk. Like if it's a really big one, then I would do 2. But if they're smaller, I might do 3. And then the carrots, kind of enough to equal, 1 to 2 medium-sized carrots. So if your carrots are on the smaller side.
Okay.
I don't recommend, and I'm sure maybe you don't either, using something like baby carrots for cooking.
No, I don't even suggest baby carrots for eating.
No.
For those of people who don't know, they're just too highly processed, even though they don't look processed at all. They're cut, they're cleaned with chemicals, and part of the chemicals they use is chlorine. So people that know what I do in the office, chlorine is a chemical toxin that I test a lot, and it does come up. And who would have ever thought you're actually, eating chlorine when you're eating the baby carrots?
I think if you probably can taste it in some of the brands too, I think.
Yeah, as people get healthier and they actually stay away from it, as they go back to it, then they actually start tasting. Literally, part of healing is actually the taste buds will change for the better.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so I saw salt.
I agree. What's that?
As I was talking, I saw salt somewhere.
You mean that?
Yeah. What were you doing? I just want to make sure we didn't miss a step.
We did not miss a step. Oh, okay. I poured salt back into my little salt dish.
Okay.
Hi, Mara. Mara's my partner in crime up here upstate. She owns an amazing catering business up here.
Great.
Bestie girl. She's awesome. So now I'm going to take some fresh thyme, and I'm going to take about, I really like thyme. If you don't like thyme, you could use something like savory or
I was thinking rosemary.
Yeah, I have rosemary as well that we're going to use. We're going to do both of them. I like them both together. Fresh is better than dried because dried tastes kind of muddy.
Okay.
That's the only way I can like kind of describe it, or too piney.
Yeah.
So to release the oils in thyme, you smack it.
Oh.
Right?
Would you do the same for rosemary?
Yes. Yeah. Any hardy herb can take a little whack, right?
Okay.
Just like I wish you had like the smell option, right? But it smells. It's so fragrant, and it almost starts
I'll have to take your word for it.
the cooking process.
Yes.
Right. So then I'm gonna de-stem them, and if your thyme does not readily pull off the stem, because some does not, then just stick the whole stem in, stick the whole thing in, and then pull it out at the end, right? Because again, this is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can turn into like a real tug of war getting thyme off a stem. Or sometimes the stems are small, like these ones, and I don't want to. So I'm just gonna throw them in.
Okay.
Right? So I've done it's probably about a teaspoon or so of thyme, and I'm going to take it and pop it inside my onions. Give that a stir. So my onions have been going for about 5 minutes or so. And now, like, the color of them is they're looking sweaty. They look like they're working out a little bit. And I'll bring them over. So they look like about that.
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And now to that, I'm going to add my carrots. What you've noticed is I have not added my garlic yet. And the reason for that is I want to release the garlic flavor into the vegetables rather than risking the potential of burning the garlic.
Oh.
Burnt garlic is no bueno.
No.
Not good. So then I'm going to go back to the stovetop, and I'm going to stir that around. And then let it go. Okay, to that, I want to make sure you can't see like my onion scraps over here. Very like camera conscious here. I've got some rosemary also that I grew this summer.
Oh,
yeah. And so I'm going to add some rosemary, about the same amount as I did the thyme. So about, like almost a tablespoon of leaves chopped. And then I'm going to go ahead and add that to the pot.
And you don't have to hit this like the thyme.
Oh yeah, sorry, I did not hit it. I hit it. That was a skill or a trick from another chef that I worked with in Brooklyn, who put me in charge, or actually I shouldn't say he put me in charge. I readily volunteered one winter when I was working at a restaurant in Brooklyn that I desperately wanted to work in the kitchen at. So I thought, I'm just going to volunteer my services to help them with the pastry program for New Year's Eve menu. Meanwhile, I was working service that week, all night, all day, that day. And I thought, that's going to be no problem in my Brooklyn apartment. I can totally make biscotti for about 250 people.
Yeah.
That's no problem. I could totally do that between Christmas and New Year's. That's no problem. Meanwhile, I'm working doubles every single day. That was silly. But the biscotti was like rosemary pine nut, and it was so good. It was worth it. It was really worth it. But my roommates at the time were like, "What are you doing? Like, you're making biscotti for everyone." But
and you say biscotti, and I don't think rosemary.
I
So
know, right?
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm sure that tasted delicious.
Yeah,
But
it was
that's
so
what
good.
food does to us. It like gives us memories. Like we smell something, we see something, we start cooking with something, and we have a string of memories to go along with it. I mean, that can be part of
Absolutely.
the fun.
Totally. Anytime I'm cooking with Rosemary, I'm back in that Park Slope apartment that I had no business cranking out that much. Never mind that it's not legal, but whatever. So I added the rosemary to the vegetables, and I'm just gonna let that cook. And I have not salted or peppered it yet, but that's coming up really soon too. So what I will do now is clean the mushrooms. So if you have anything, I'll just kind of talk about how I clean mushrooms and why I do the method to the madness
Yes.
is not washing mushrooms. So mushrooms love water, and if you Bhakti Recovery Group, hello. If you put water on mushrooms, they are going to soak up that water and then be really hard to cook, and you're not going to get a good saute on them. So what you can do instead is dampen a cloth, preferably a non-bleached paper towel of sorts, and or a vegetable brush, and brush the mushrooms.
And part of it is to squeeze the excess water out.
Yes.
It's not just for dirt.
It's not for dirt. Exactly. So you're going to just kind of, and mushrooms can take it. You can kind of really get in there and brush them.
Okay.
And then I always take out the cap.
Okay.
And that's it. So I'm going to keep doing that. If there's anything that you want to bring to the discussion, or if people have questions.
Yeah, that's actually a good question or a good statement. If anybody has questions, go ahead and feel free to write them in. Bobbie's busy cooking, but I am looking at the screen diligently. At the same time, Bobbie's greeting everybody and being a very good hostess. So she's looking at the screen as well. And I'm happy to do this. It's the weekend before Thanksgiving. I know everyone has a lot of prepping and organizing to do this week. And one reason why we put it at 4 o'clock today is, you cook and then you can have this early dinner. And, not everybody's going to enjoy a lentil mushroom dish necessarily at Thanksgiving. But I want to try to make the holidays as healthy as possible, guys. And everybody, uses excuses. And what really upsets me is when Halloween is an excuse, because Halloween is for kids. And the week after that November, first week in November, everybody OD'd on Halloween candy. And so it's just an excuse, right? And especially when it comes to the white refined sugar, it's like, oh, just one Kit Kat. And again, it's the memory of the food. It's like, this is what I liked when I was trick-or-treating. That little inner child wants that Kit Kat, but then one Kit Kat becomes 3 Kit Kats. And then, before you know it, you ate all the leftover whatever. And so I was trying, knowing about the holidays coming up, and if you're stuck and you really, let's say you're going over to family or friend's house and you really don't have any say over the menu at all, it's always nice for, to hand the host or the hostess a dish and just make sure that dish is something, that's healthy that you can eat. And so you're doing good with the mushrooms. I'm just making sure. Just interrupt me at any time. Okay, Bobbie?
No, you can't see my head and I'm just nodding.
Yes, we've all been there.
Yeah.
And so my sister's coming for Thanksgiving. She is a great cook, and luckily she's known me my whole life, and they know that I eat gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free. So I always make sure that I have, the greens at the table, and hopefully the kids, will try the greens as well. That's always kind of hard. That gluten-free stuffing, because that's what I like, just like that one dish at the Thanksgiving table. It's like, it's not Thanksgiving without the gluten-free stuffing. And my sister actually hates turkey, so we're doing brisket. And then a dessert, which I love pumpkin spice everything and anything, but this year I'm kind of like over it for whatever reason. So I'm like, I don't know if I should make the gluten-free pumpkin pie or not. And then we have a crust recipe that's really easy, guys. I was always intimidated by making my own gluten-free crust. So if you want it, definitely try to contact us. Every recipe I have on the website and I give out are things that I can do. And I am definitely not an expert in the kitchen. I really don't enjoy cooking. I cook, to survive. And in a good way, it's easy for me to, because I don't have such an emotional connection, it's easy for me to eat pretty clean, so that's the good thing. But the bad thing is, because of the lack of emotional connection, like I see it as a job, and it's like, okay, what's that thing that I'm going to make tonight for dinner? And so I don't get bored with my food. I have like those 7 recipes I rotate for dinner. And luckily my kids, are okay with it. They like routine just like their mother. So like we have, the cassava flour tortillas, and I do my tacos with lentils, and the kids do beef, and we have Taco Tuesday every Tuesday, and it's really nice to be dependable that way. But some families, like, they need the routine, or they don't need the routine. They like want that new exciting thing. And so a lot of people will cheat because they're bored. And a lot of people will cheat. When I say cheat, I'm just saying like eat off their program after we muscle test them. Is just lack of preparation, or stress. But a lot of times the high stress goes high, so then preparation goes low, right? Because we're stressed out about something, we're wasting our energy on something. So preparation is key. Make sure you have the healthy things around the house. Otherwise, you're screwed that way too.
Well, one thing that I did, Dr. Armitstead, when we started working together is I rearranged my cupboards completely so that I had one cupboard in my house, because my parents were staying with me at the time because I was undergoing treatment. And then I still have, my daughter was eating wheat pasta and was eating some yogurt and that sort of thing. So I wasn't going to, be like, okay, kid, you're doing this too. And so what I did is I took one of my cupboards and I emptied it completely and only put things in this one cupboard that I could eat. So then I would open that cupboard and go, I can eat everything in here, instead of going like, oh man, well, I can't have that and I can't have this and da 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 da. And for me, it ended up making me not do like, oh, screw it, I'm just going to have the cracker.
Yeah, you had to make sure you opened the right cupboard.
I had to make sure I opened the right cupboard. Hi, Carrie. So I'm going to salt and pepper my mirepoix, which is the celery, onions, and carrots. To this, I took it off the stove, so it kind of looks like this now.
Perfect.
Okay. I'm going to bash a garlic clove and put it in and I'm going to leave it, you can either slice it in half or even leave it whole. The smaller you cut garlic, the more garlicky your dish is. The more whole you leave the garlic, the more perfumed your dish is. If you're cooking your lentils, now's a really good time to look at them and see if they are cooked. Sorry, I had that moment where like, oh dear. For me, my lentils are done, so I'm taking them off the heat and I'm just putting them aside. I'll deal with them in a moment. So I'm taking my garlic clove and I'm slicing it in half and I'm putting it in the dish. I would do this at the stovetop, but just so that I'm not screaming from the stovetop and you guys can't see anything. I'm also going to use a little tomato paste now. So I'm going to squeeze about a tablespoon's worth. If you have not bought tomato paste in a tube before, it's so great. It's awesome. Rather than getting it in a can, but then what do you do with the rest of the can?
Yes.
You waste it. Right? So this is going to go back to the stove top. I'm going to stir it. I'm going to keep cooking it. Okay? And then I'm going to chop up those mushrooms and get those on the stove too. So you just want to make sure that everything is incorporated. If you have a bay leaf, whether it's fresh or dried, you can add a bay leaf as well to this. If you don't have a bay leaf, the garden pie police is not coming for you, so it's really okay. It's really all right. Okay, so we're just gonna let that. What's nice with the tomato paste in this way is that the tomato paste is gonna make contact with the cooking surface and will actually caramelize and get kind of sweet. If you taste tomato paste right out of the tube, it's disgusting.
Yeah. And so I was wondering, like, would you add real tomatoes or specifically tomato paste? Yeah. Okay.
It's going to take you longer to get a tomatoey.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
The great thing about tomato paste is it's so concentrated. I've even had friends make this dish and like use cut up sun-dried tomatoes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Good. Totally possible too. So I'm going to cut these mushrooms, and you can, like, I have a bunch, right? I think I may have said 8 ounces. I definitely I'm at a pound of mushrooms here. Mostly, again, because my parents are here and they're mushroom fiends. So I like to do kind of a variety of textures, even though I said earlier, right, keep everything uniform, right? So I'm going to do some where I'm cutting them in half and then slicing them into, like half moons. Others, I'm going to keep this same width, right, but vary up the length a little bit, just so that it's interesting to look at. And then I'm even going to do a couple that are chunks. Okay. When it comes time to cook the mushrooms, I'm going to cook them in a dry pan.
And say that again, in a dry pan?
Dry.
Okay.
For reason being, the mushrooms are going to release their own liquid.
Yes.
And you'll actually have a better chance of getting a good saute if you don't add oil. Because they just they suck up the oil anyway, so then you end up needing to use way more oil at the front end rather than seasoning them with olive oil at the back end.
Got it.
So there's a lot of chopping involved in this recipe, I'm not going to lie, right? So if you're chopophobic, some people are. I have a friend who literally, she sees chopping, she's like, nope, don't want to make that recipe.
Oh, wow. Is it the actual, like, work involved, or you think it's the knife?
I think it's the knife.
Okay. People are worried.
People are worried. And so if you're worried about a knife, make sure your knife is as sharp as you can get it. Which seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, I was just like, wait. But then it's not like it helps to have a dull knife on purpose, so.
No. If you have a dull knife, you have to push harder. You have a greater chance that your food is going to slip.
Right.
Your hand is going to slip. Your hand is going to go under the knife. And if you cut with a really sharp knife, it's a cleaner cut. If you cut with a dull, right? Yeah. If you cut with a dull knife, you're really going to the hospital.
Yeah. So the sharper the knife, that's a good point. Less of a struggle. So therefore,
less of a struggle.
Yeah.
You actually are more efficient. Like, my knife is a little bit dull right now. So if I want to do like my usual speed, I'm slowed down because of the dullness of my knife.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So a dull knife is exponentially less safe.
So then you think the pound of mushrooms are going to fit in your casserole dish?
Yes, because they reduce down. They're like the greens of vegetables.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Or like, they're so much like greens. This is going to shrink down so much. Like so much. So I'm going to just give my vegetables a stir. Now what you can see, and this is a good thing for you all to see. Can you see on the bare side of my pan where I cleared it, how there's it's called fond on the bottom? That is flavor. We want that, right? So to get that up off the pan, I'm going to add acid. Now the acid that you can add is apple cider vinegar. You could add balsamic vinegar if you wanted, but I don't know how you feel about balsamic vinegar, Dr. Armitstead. I've never actually asked you.
Some people test well for it and some people don't. Okay,
does the average person test well to apple cider vinegar?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody, use apple cider vinegar.
Yes.
Okay?
Play it safe.
And pretty instantly, that fond lifts off and doesn't reattach itself. And the vinegar is going to bring out the sweetness in the rest of the ingredients, which is pretty good. This is going to go back on the stovetop.
Do you think you just added a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar?
Yep.
Okay.
I'd say a tablespoon. Also, it's not a nice time to check your vegetables for doneness.
Yeah.
So you want to taste a couple of them, like get a couple carrots, get a couple pieces of celery, and kind of see where you're at with them. It's nice to have like a little bit of texture on them so they're not completely mush.
That's what I think too.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad. I mean, we think a lot alike a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm going to saute my mushrooms. I'm going to put them all into a dry skillet. And I would not say non-stick. I would say regular. Right? If you don't have a saute pan, you can use a kind of a deep, wide saucepan as well. Just something that'll support the volume. Right? So what I tend to use is this. It's like a combination between the two.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to put these on the stove and just let them go.
How long do you think they take? About 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So as that happens, I'm also going to boil some water in a pot where I'm going to steam some cauliflower.
Okay.
Okay? So there's definitely, some stuff going on right now, right? We got a lot going on.
If people don't have the ability to actually steam the cauliflower, you would say put it in the hot water, but just...
Yeah. Yes. And then reserve some of the water for the whipping process. Just a little bit of it. Actually, let me back up on that. Don't, because it's going to be slightly waterlogged.
Okay.
From being in the water. So you would want to drain it well if you were going to boil your cauliflower.
Okay.
Okay. If you don't have a steamer, a metal colander or a heat-proof colander in a pot and put a lid on it is a great option if you don't have a steaming vessel.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Welcome. Because not everybody does.
Right.
And they go, oh man, but I don't have a steamer. Well, if you have a colander, you could even use a strainer.
Right.
Like a metal strainer. This is not a strainer, this is a spider. But like if it's wide enough to set over top of your pot to put a lid on and capture as much steam as you can. You just got to make sure that you don't have a plastic, that there's no plastic involved, because that means melting.
Right.
I say that laughing because I learned that the hard way. You can check on your vegetables and just see, again, their doneness. If they're done, you can set them aside. steaming of your cauliflower. And then you're going to break your cauliflower and put it inside your steaming vessel.
And a whole head of cauliflower makes sense?
I'd put a whole head of cauliflower.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you can ever have too much whipped cauliflower, though you can have too much whipped cauliflower. I eat whipped cauliflower a lot, and then I always take 2 or 3 too many extra spoonfuls, and then like at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, oh God.
The body just told you it was too much.
The body said, you know, here you go. So I just break it into florets and pop it in the steaming vessel. This is obviously too big, right? We want uniformity. And so.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this meal can come together relatively quickly. You know, again, there's a lot of chopping, so if you have a chopping partner, go for it. And there's also options where, like, you know, if you go to somewhere like Whole Foods, if that's in your neighborhood and in your budget, they've already done this for you.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
You know, they've done it for you. So, I don't know if my steaming little vessel will support an entire cauliflower, but we're going to see.
At Whole Foods, they already have chopped up carrots and celery too, right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
So that's always an option if you feel like, I want to make this, but I do not want to chop all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I'm doing the colander thing because cauliflower too big.
Ah, yes. Got it.
Yeah, so I'm... If you're going to, I'm thinking ahead for a moment to the salad that we're going to make as soon as we get the cauliflower up and running.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going if you have nuts that you've already pre-toasted, great. If you haven't toasted nuts, now's a good time to put your oven on. You also can use, like, for example, if you're going to use walnuts instead of pecans, I like raw walnuts in the salad. I think they're pretty delicious. What are your thoughts on raw nuts, Dr. Armitstead?
Yeah, so I always would buy raw nuts. I would never buy roasted. The oils that they would use to roast the nuts are going to be commercial grade. And sprouted nuts, if you can buy them, they are more expensive, but they are really delicious, and they taste different, and they have more nutritional value. So I suggest never buying roasted nuts and doing this extra step to roast your own. It really is worth it.
Agreed. So if you've pre-toasted, cool. If not, put your oven on. You can also pan toast, but in my experience, that really toasts the surface of the nut and not the actual nut itself.
Got it.
What do you feel about that?
I have never pan toasted. I've always put the oven on.
Here I am to tell you that, and I think that the pan toasting, unless they're pine nuts, is kind of wah wah.
Okay, got it. That's true. I do see how pine nuts could actually be pan fried or pan toasted.
Yes. So I'm going to turn my oven on to about 400 degrees on bake. My water is boiling already, so I'm going to put my steamer on top of my pot and put the lid on top and let my cauliflower steam out.
Okay.
I'm going to check my mushrooms in their dry pan and give them a little bit of movement. They're already releasing so much liquid.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm just going to let them keep cooking. So what will happen with your mushrooms is there'll be a point where they're releasing so much liquid and almost like, okay, they're drowning. Cool. That liquid will also evaporate. So don't pour it out. Just let it go, right? It's almost like the mushroom is releasing its own juice, but then you're cooking that juice back into the mushroom.
Oh.
So you're using the mushroom juice to flavor the mushrooms.
Got it.
Rather than discard it. Make a sense?
Yeah, no, that's actually helpful. I never thought of it that way, but you're right.
Yeah. So, right, but like, yeah. Okay, so for the Brussels sprout salad, these are sort of like behemoth. They're huge.
I know. I've never seen Brussels sprouts that huge.
Yeah, they're pretty big. It's like a planet for a head. Okay, so hi Kumari, if you're still on here. Frankie's still super obsessed with you. My friend who's an incredible Bharatanatyam dancer. So I'm going to peel off kind of the firm outer leaves. Now, you can save these, should you be so inclined, because your oven is already on. You're going to put a little bit, you'll have a whole bunch of these. You'll drizzle a little bit of avocado oil on them, massage them, salt them, put them in the oven, and then you get these like blistered, crunchy Brussels sprout
chips. Yeah.
That are awesome.
No, I've never done that. I've always thrown them out.
Yeah. You can also do it with the cauliflower leaves as well.
Oh, wow.
But I did not do that today. So just for the sake of time, I'm not going to do this to all of the Brussels sprouts. I'll do a small amount. So I'll only do a couple more just because I want us to be on task. And you all don't need to see me just go into town on Brussels sprouts.
Did you buy them off the stem? Have you guys ever seen the Brussels sprouts on the stems? I am like intimidated by that. I've never bought them.
Well, they're delicious off the stem.
Okay, so they really is worth it. And you just have to cut it, right? Like, I don't even know why.
Yeah, you just got to cut them off the stem. And what's awesome about that is, like, to your point when you said about gardening, that everything just tastes better. Well, sort of the Brussels sprouts off the stem, because they're still connected kind of to their food source.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they would be more fresh.
Yeah, they're more fresh. What I find disappointing about the stem, though, is, you know how broccoli stems are delicious? Do you cook your broccoli stems?
Yeah, no, sometimes I like the broccoli stems just as much as the actual florets.
Me too. But the
Brussels sprout
stem is disgusting.
Okay, that's good to know. Maybe that's why it intimidates me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cut you off. Yeah, I can see why it would be intimidating for sure. But I find that the Brussels sprouts stay fresher longer.
Okay.
If they're on the stem. You might not have room in your fridge for the stem, but it's kind of awesome. Okay, so this is, you want to shave this or cut it as finely as possible.
And I've done Brussels sprout salads in the past, and this seems tedious, but it's worth it.
It's tedious and it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it basically becomes like, if then I massage it.
Do you massage it? Yeah.
You'll see that, like, okay, so that was one Brussels sprout. So it's gonna get, like, I don't think anybody is gonna sit down and eat like an entire bowl of Brussels sprout salad. You might. Like, it's delicious and all, but like, right?
Yeah. No, they're gonna feel that in the middle of the night too, or the next day.
Exactly. So I'm just gonna do the rest of these Brussels sprouts.
And how many those big Brussels sprouts that you just showed us, that one, do you think you have like 6 or 7 of them?
8.
Okay, 8, and it's gonna feed you and your parents, so 3 people.
Yes, and like after we go off camera, I'm probably gonna do the rest of them, because my dad is that person who eats the entire bowl of Brussels sprout salad. Now I throw these. I'm gonna back up a little.
Yeah.
If I get to the bottom, like near the core, this part is not so delicious. So when I see them, then I've cut through it, then I just throw that out.
Okay.
Or compost, I should say.
Yeah. It's so nice to be able to compost.
Yes. Oh my God. The deer love it too, I'll tell you.
Oh my gosh. You do see a lot of deer?
So much. So
Do they
many deer.
So then, do you have a garden outside?
I do have a garden outside.
So how do you get the deer not to eat the garden outside?
Well, I definitely supplied this summer's deer with a whole lot of really delicious kale.
Oh no!
They ate most of my kale, but then I was also kind of like, oh, okay, well, I did sort of invade your land, so all right, cool.
Just surrender to the ecosystem.
Fence, you know?
Yes.
Higher fence. So,
no, and when you see them, you enjoy them. So
I enjoy them, and we put our jack-o'-lanterns outside in the yard. We have like a little wooded area in the back, and we put our jack-o'-lanterns out there, and we saw like 4 deer coming to eat the pumpkins.
Did the jack-o'-lanterns last like a night out there or a couple nights?
They lasted. They were fine actually, because they don't come up to the door.
Okay.
Right? But when I put the pumpkins out in the forest, they were like, "This is awesome, thank you."
Oh, okay, so you were done, and yeah.
They were done, so they had like a pumpkin.
Oh, nice.
So, which is sweet.
Yeah.
Super sweet. So, yeah, I'm almost done with this. I can hear my mushrooms now. They've got, like, cooking too is all about like using all your senses, right? So if I'm listening to my mushrooms, they don't sound the same than they did 5 minutes ago, right? I can now hear that there's less liquid.
Got it.
It was bubbly sounding before, and now it's like
that beautiful sizzling.
We want the sizzle, right?
Yeah.
Because we're going to deglaze it the same way that we did the other. What's your feel, Dr. Armitstead, if a recipe calls for wine, knowing that the alcohol is going to cook off?
My body doesn't do well with wine. It doesn't do well with the fruit sugar.
Yeah.
And so wine is like the last alcohol that I would ever have. So I just skip this step always. But yes, they say alcohol evaporates as you cook it, and that is true. But right. I still skip the step because I know the fruit sugar still stays there. If anything, the fruit sugar is even more concentrated.
Sure. That makes sense to me. I've never thought about it in that way, and I'm thankful for your response.
Hey, we're learning from each other.
Learning from each other. So because of this dry pan, I've got like a lot of color.
Yeah, no, it looks great.
Delish. So I'm going to salt and pepper my mushrooms. You could, if you have them at this point, add coconut aminos as a soy sauce, alternative.
So yes, coconut aminos is it's sweeter than soy sauce. So you have to kind of get used to it, but it is the only alternative, and it is a great alternative. Yes. My family and I love it.
Yes. It is an acquired transition, I found.
Yes.
But it's delicious. It does give you that umami feel.
Yes.
Right? So I salted, I peppered. I'm going to add just a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and that sort of counters the coconut and the sweetness of the coconut aminos.
Oh, and you think you just did a tablespoon of coconut aminos and a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar? Okay.
Yeah, table. Oh yeah, that's tasty. That's so nice.
So for everybody who's watching, I would need to get out the tablespoon and measure. I can't do it Bobbie's way.
Well, I'm going to encourage you to get used to the splash.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The splash and the glug.
It saves time.
It does. It totally saves time. And the worst thing is like, oh, I put a little little too much acid in there. Okay, so I'll add a little bit more fat. Okay. It's nothing, like, if you put the whole bottle in, your dish would be ruined, right? But
Yeah.
you can always rebalance that, like, pretty easily.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm going to take my nuts, and I'm going to put them on a baking sheet and pop them in the oven for about 10 minutes or so. So that's going to be taking us right to the end of our time together.
And did you put the oven at 450?
I put it at 400.
Okay, 400.
Yes. I feel like the one thing I didn't grab was my pecans, and now, of course, I cannot locate them.
Uh-oh.
So that means that I'm going walnuts.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was like,
right? So that, oh, here they are. They're the pecans. So you can go pecans, you can go walnuts, you can go almonds. Sunflower seeds are really delicious and super nutritious.
Oh, I actually want to try that. With the Brussels sprouts, actually, that would be really good.
Sunflower seeds they've probably become my new favorite salad topper. Yeah. So I'll put if you were feeling real saucy, you could do a combo.
No, there you go. That way you don't have to make a choice. You can do it all.
No, you could just go all of it. Oh, a super delicious. Here I am going like product placement here. I'm gonna put these in the oven and then I'll show you. That I'm in love with. The only thing I don't love is the vessel that it comes in, which is, I mean, it's BPA-free plastic, but I transitioned it pretty much right away to a glass bottle.
Oh, good.
Is Hudson Valley cold pressed sunflower oil.
Oh, wow.
It is so good.
Oh, it's so, yeah, okay, that's good to know. Yeah, that's really helpful.
So good. So tasty.
Yep. And I would transition it into glass as well. So good job.
Thank you.
But it's also nice to see companies being aware and picking BPA-free plastic.
Yes. Yes.
It really does make a difference. And it is frustrating. It's like you have the perfect, food.
Yes.
And yeah.
And then you went ahead and ruined it with plastic.
Yep, exactly.
So my mushrooms are done. My vegetables are done. My lentils are done. So they're all off the heat. I'm checking on my cauliflower. It's pretty much done, so I'm turning it off and just letting whatever steam is left in my pot.
Got it.
Do it. I'm going to finish the salad prep, and then we're going to put it all together.
That's the fun part. Well,
that's the fun part.
The fun part, I guess, is eating.
The fun part is totally eating. So I'm going to take an apple, and for color, I like to use a red apple against the green of the Brussels sprouts.
Yes.
If you were unable in your protocol to use an apple, you could use fennel. Fennel is also super tasty in this salad.
And yeah, a fennel on its own is like a licorice, which you wouldn't think would be tasty in this type of salad, but somehow it is with the dressing and everything.
Totally. Agreed.
Yeah.
Right, so I've sliced about a half of an apple, sliced it again down the center, and then making slices. Perfect. Because you kind of want to be able to have everything in a bite. So I'm going to add that too. Right, and then you can par it out, like if you have more, right? If these look like, oh, that looks really big, you can pull them out and cut them smaller. It's totally okay. But if you have more Brussels sprouts, you can always add more apples and play with that. And so I'm going to take some of my quick pickled onions. Hi, Gary. Benjamin Nathanson, hello. So you can give one of these a taste. Like you can see, like now it's
Yeah,
Right?
it's lost its firmness.
It's lost, yeah, it's like, and like crunch wise,
Oh, I hear it.
we still have some crunch.
Yes.
So what I like to do is take about, like a little handful. When I finely dice it, it's going to be about a tablespoon or two. Now,
Okay.
if you have people who are a little sensitive to onions, leave them whole and they can pick them out. So I just kind of run my knife across them, making them smaller. Pop them in. Then the dressing that I'm going to make, I'm going to get a bowl.
Do you do different dressings with this, or is it always the same?
You can totally do different dressings with this. I mean, you can do lemon, olive oil, and that's it with this, which is super tasty. What I'm going to do with this today is use some of the pickling liquid. So it's salty and it's vinegary and it's oniony. And I put about a tablespoon of that in.
Got it.
And so it emulsifies or blends together. And some people really just like the brightness of lemon, right? So if that's like what you know you like, then don't do this, right?
Yeah.
Like, pour it back in and leave it as pickling liquid, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that just for fun. So know that you can use that pickling liquid. So I'm gonna change gears here. I'm gonna change my paddle midstream. Okay. But also, I guess if we're looking at it nutritionally, in your opinion, or I mean, it's probably with the Brussels sprouts, if there's iron present in the Brussels sprouts, the vitamin C in the lemon is going to make some of the nutrients more available in the Brussels sprouts. Yes or no?
Correct.
Okay, great. So then let's do it Dr. Armitstead's way.
So how did you know what I was thinking?
I put a spoonful of Dijon mustard in here, and then I'm going to squeeze the juice of one lemon into the bowl. Meaning where if you don't have a fancy schmancy citrus reamer, hold your hand.
Catch the seeds.
Catch the seeds.
Oh, and see how you're getting your fingers up in there, guys? That's how you really get the juice out.
Yep, get your fingers in there. Also, if your hands were previously oniony, they won't be anymore.
Yep.
So then,
Here's the remedy.
Take care of that.
Yes.
Yeah. So then you whisk together the lemon and the mustard. My hands are sufficiently. I know. So I ration my last paper towel here for this. And I count in glugs. Sorry, Dr. Armitstead.
It's okay. Everyone just watch.
So I'm going to count to about a slow 6 is usually what I count to when I'm making vinaigrette. And whisk while the oil is going in a steady stream.
Oh.
That way it emulsifies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's coming out slow, so I'm going to go to 8, 7, 8. And then that way it stays together. If you just pour the oil right on top, you're going to be whisking until tomorrow.
That's what I feel like I always do. So thank you.
Welcome. I'm going to pepper this. I'm going to salt this. And then I'm going to taste it. And when you're making vinaigrette, you want to, that's so good. You want to taste for a balance of acid, salt, and fat.
Okay.
Right? If you're getting like way too much acid, try a little bit more salt and try more fat. If you're getting too much fat, add more acid.
Okay.
Right? So typically ratios for vinaigrette is 3 parts fat to 1 part acid. But everybody's a little different on that. We're going to take the dressing and I'm going to pour it on top.
Woo!
Woo! And then I will toss it. This particular salad does well resting for a few moments. Right? So
yeah, it even...
What's that?
I was going to say it even tastes better to me the next day.
Yes.
And you do not say that about many salads, but the Brussels sprouts really absorb in that Dijon and it's delicious.
Delicious. What I would hold off if you were going to make it a day ahead, because you could totally make this a day ahead, but I would hold off on putting the pecans in.
Oh, right.
Pecans in, or whatever nut you're using at the end.
Yeah, because you're gonna.
Yeah, you get it. Then you get everything. And do the same thing. Do I taste sweet, salty, fatty, oniony? Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you need to adjust accordingly, you add a little more lemon, a little more olive oil, a little more salt, a little more pepper. Salads are always to taste. So, in a moment, I'm going to take out my pecans, but I can't smell them yet. So that to me means they're not done yet.
Oh yeah.
Right? But I am going to set a timer of like 3 minutes. Okay, so the last thing I'm doing is I'm whipping my cauliflower and then I'm putting everything together. I'm getting my food processor. Not my food processor, my Ninja. I'm a Ninja girl. People are like, you're either in Camp Vitamix or you're in
the Ninja. Ninja has a new like air fryer.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, it's what is it? Oh my gosh, the air fryer plus the pressure cooker.
Yes.
Yeah, and I love my pressure cooker, guys. I didn't really understand it at first, and then I realized that everything was so much easier and faster to make with it. Plus, Dr. Gundry talked to me all about how pressure cooking lentils, beans, rice gets the lectins out.
Ooh, that's so great.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yes, I love pressure cooking.
Yeah.
I love it. I should send you a pressure cooked soup recipe that I made yesterday.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So good. Okay, so I'm going to put everybody in.
You got it. You did it.
Did it.
With a little bit of water?
Yes.
Okay.
A little bit of the steaming water. Because this particular, some cauliflowers are like super moist, and this one is not. So I'm going to put a little bit of the cooking water in. And I'm sorry that I'm not going to be able to mute myself because it'll get loud.
I know. It's okay. Do what you need to do, guys.
All right. So I'm going to puree this. I'm not going to add any olive oil yet, and I will explain why in a moment after.
Rachel, I'm so sorry you just joined. Just put on the blender. Just give us a couple more minutes. Oh, there you go.
I know, it feels like it's taking forever.
I know.
Sometimes
it's okay.
Yeah. I'm going to go back. Now that it's about halfway to fluffed, Okay. Now I'm going to add in probably about a half a cup of olive oil.
I think maybe that's what I've been missing. I haven't done that much olive oil.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, make it silky. I'm definitely saving this bottle because I like the pourer.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how we have our certain containers?
Totally. And then I'm going to salt this. I'm going to pepper it. You could add, after it's completely whipped, if you wanted, you could add in some chopped fresh parsley or some chives to make it have that like mashed potato feel.
Yeah.
I've even gone so far sometimes to add a little bit of nutmeg.
Oh.
Right? And super yummy. Okay, so I'm going to go and whip this again. You could add a little bit of lemon juice to it to just give it a little bit of acid to cut some of the richness, but you kind of have to find that out after the fact. I'm going back in. There we go. Now it's like a cloud. Like a cauliflower cloud.
Yeah.
Right? Super, like, yeah, it's delicious.
Fluffy.
Fluffy. So yummy. So yummy. Okay. So now I have everything. And, I mean, if you want, because this is oven safe, right? I can put all of the base topping in here. If I want to put the cauliflower, if I want to put it all into the oven and sort of brown up the cauliflower on top, I can do that too. So now I'm going to add my mushrooms into the mix. I've seasoned. So important that, like, as we kind of, if we backtrack a little bit, we've seasoned every layer.
Yeah.
Right? So this is seasoned. The mushrooms are seasoned. I'm going to quickly season the lentils with, it's like I'm a one-trick pony, but I promise that I'm not. With olive oil, salt, pepper, and a little apple cider vinegar. I promise you I'm not a one-trick pony. But it's amazing how different it tastes in everything it touches.
Yeah.
I'm adding about a tablespoon.
Okay.
And when you have what I sort of equate to 3 capfuls, right? So a little salt, a little pepper, a little olive oil, a little apple cider vinegar, and I give the lentils a stir. I give them a little stir and a taste. I'm not going to put all of these lentils in. I'm going to put about half of them in because I added a little extra at the beginning. But the lentils themselves are so tasty. Just like this. Like just gently marinated lentils to put in anything else you now want to put them in. So now I'm going to mix everybody together. Into this like super yummy. You could add fresh parsley here if you wanted. You could, if you knew you were putting it in the oven, or even not, like there's still quite a bit of heat on it. You could finally chop some baby spinach and fold it in. And then the heat from the cauliflower would then wilt the spinach.
Yeah.
Which is super, super yum. Okay. So if you feel like it looks I mean, it's on the drier side. So if you wanted to return it to the stove and add like a little bit of filtered water and sort of cook it together a little bit, you can. Sometimes it's more wet, sometimes it's more dry. It sometimes depends too on like the overall water content of your vegetables.
Yeah.
Right? And like I said, if you want to turn this into a marinara sauce or like a pasta sauce, you put a can of tomatoes in here or put the best marinara sauce you can find in here, and now you have like this like vegetable bolognese that's delicious. So you give your seasoning, your what am I calling this? Your lentil and mushroom mix a taste. You can season it accordingly with a little salt, a little pepper, right from here. Tastes pretty good. And then you get your cauliflower and you put your cauliflower directly on top. I'm going to take 1 second and just whiz it one more time in the Ninja because I had a couple of missed pieces. Come on. Come on. Oh, that's fine. And that's that. It's gonna go, I'm gonna put it on top. And then you can see the finished product. There's definitely some people that I make this for that when the cauliflower starts to get whipped, then we all fight over who gets to lick up. Or clean out the dregs.
Yes.
Right? So this then goes on top.
Yeah, I never feel like I need to brown it in the oven after, but I thought it was a really good idea. It's really easy, and if you're setting up the table, you can just put it in there. And
yeah, it adds a little something in the presentation.
Yeah.
You know. Amy Chaplin, who has like just some really brilliant health forward cookbooks. Mm-hmm. One of them is Whole Food Cooking Every Day. She makes these cauliflower bakes in this book, and she adds cashews to the cauliflower.
Oh, like as a cashew cheese?
Kind of, and a little bit of nutritional yeast, so it has like cheesy mashed potato feel to the top. And then it's baked and it's like super decadent. So then it looks like this.
Yep. Perfect.
You could put it in the oven if you wanted to. And then your salad, you would add your nuts in. Mine are still cooling, so I don't want to shock them. And then I transfer it to a cuter vessel than this.
Yep. Perfect. Right.
Yeah.
And we're done.
And we're done. We're done.
Okay. Now I just feel like, oh my gosh, I watched this, I'm a part of it, and I don't get to eat any of it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It was my choice just to watch.
And then just like keep posting them online.
Yes, absolutely. But then it'll be fun, to actually watch this video again. I'll put it on the Healing Arts YouTube channel. Yeah. Awesome. And then go through it again. If anybody is like just popped in for a brief second, doesn't have time, you guys can use it this way as well. So it's all about eating healthy. That looks delicious. You definitely make it look easy. Yes, a lot of chopping, but totally doable.
But
yeah,
if you don't want to do all the chopping, then put it all in the food processor. It's going to texturally be different, but it'll still taste amazing.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Bobbie.
Thank you.
Enjoy your beautiful, delicious food.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to dinner tonight. So
yes,
dinner's already made.
Perfect.
Thank you, Dr. Armitstead.
You're welcome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.